right. I think we're going to call my two colleagues also up on stage. We said we're going to keep our own presentations a bit shorter so that we have more time for the conversation between us and we have more time for questions from your side. Now, before starting off, I want to get a quick idea of who's in the audience. Who's an entrepreneur in the audience right now? Okay, maybe 30–40%. Who wants to be an entrepreneur? Okay, so all the people that that want to be entrepreneurs are not entrepreneurs yet, or you are entrepreneurs, and you're still working on becoming better. Yeah. Anyways, who is an investor? Investor, few investors. Who is from the government or from any other European Commission or something like that? Few people. Okay, great. Who is another kind of ecosystem stakeholder and tries to really boost the ecosystem here? Few more people. Okay, great. So in some way, this presentation and our panel will be for all of you and hopefully giving you some input in terms of how you can really boost the startup ecosystem here in Lisbon. By the way, who is in Lisbon and who is from Lisbon here? Okay, about half. And who is not from Lisbon? Okay, great. Yeah, good. So yeah, so about half. That's great. So we, before starting off, one of the things that I think is really important to quickly talk about is why does all of this even matter? Like, why do startup ecosystems matter? Why do innovation ecosystems matter? Why is this not just another bubble that we're currently seeing, where we talk about hardware startups and consumer startups, and in a few years from now, it's a bubble that would just burst and everyone will be going back to work at big companies, and that's it. My hypothesis, and a lot of other people agree with that, is that this is not going to happen, because really what we're seeing right now is something much bigger. What we're seeing is that there's an explosion of entrepreneurship around the world. We call it an entrepreneur enlightenment, where it really becomes so easy to start companies and drive innovation. And especially in the US, but also in many other countries around the world, we see that the vast majority of job growth and economic origination is driven by a lot of those high growth companies. In the US, almost 100% of the job growth comes from those high growth companies, most of them being software companies at the moment. As John Hagel from the Deloitte Institute for the Edge says, what we're really seeing is a big shift happening, a big socioeconomic structural shift, where essentially over the next 15 to 20 years, half of what we today know as service industry is going to be replaced by software. And that's where sort of the biggest value creation is happening, where essentially a lot of people that today are doctors, accountants, lawyers, teachers, consultants, analysts, many of these people will be in some way, be replaced by software or be amplified by software, which on the one hand means that it's going to be pretty painful and a lot of people will lose their jobs, which will be difficult, especially for the developed countries. But at the same time, it's an opportunity for other countries to really leapfrog with their economy and to build new big ecosystems. And I think this is an opportunity also for Portugal as a country to really drive their innovation ecosystem and to build a new fundament for their future economy, build the future mobile apps, automated doctors that you can use in order to get your diagnostics without ever going to a doctor. So there's a huge opportunity there. That's why it's so important of all of you to, beyond working on your companies, to really participate and help in building the ecosystem. and the way of how you can build those ecosystems is by organizing such conferences, by creating connections between the people, by getting more people to invest into companies in this space, by inspiring other people to see the opportunity within the startup space, and really help drive that shift in Portugal. Now, there's a few, globally what we're seeing right now is that there's a few places that have really jump-started over the last 1, 2, 3 years. And it's really fascinating to see how a few ecosystems have been able to essentially come from zero to being one of the driving ecosystems today around the world with very, very little input, whereas other ecosystems have spent a lot of money and resources, and they're still not going anywhere today. So there is ways of how you, as individuals, can really make a difference, and I want to talk about a few examples. One of them that has been talked about a lot, but I think it's a great example, is Startup Chile, that have been able to essentially jumpstart an ecosystem from zero to being one among the top ecosystems. We've published a research last year where we compared the top ecosystems. Santiago appeared on there, and they were literally non-existent a few years ago as a startup ecosystem. Today, they're one very small but thriving ecosystem where with a government initiative they were able to jumpstart it, but really it was driven by two guys who were 27, 28, who were able to create a lot of hype and get about 1,000 companies to move to Santiago and to start their companies there, and inspire the local ecosystem and help to get a lot of people in Chile to choose the path of entrepreneurship. There's also a great example for another ecosystem that jump-started and came from essentially zero to being a center for game startups today, which is Helsinki, that many of you know, which really started off with, in the end of the day, one guy called Christo, who I met, I think, about 4 years ago, right before he started in Moscow. And he was so convinced about innovation entrepreneurship that he was able to bring together this Altos Entrepreneurship Society then that literally transformed the ecosystem, that was able to create a lot of excitement, get a lot of people from the old industries to become mentors to these small startups, to invest into those companies, and got the government excited to put in resources into this innovation ecosystem, brought people from the US over, brought people from Helsinki to Silicon Valley, built a bridge, and really established Helsinki as an ecosystem, and did this within 2 or 3 years. So I think for any one of you who is passionate about trying to get or to jumpstart the ecosystem in Portugal, it's possible, and there's a number of examples. Maybe we can talk about more later on, and I think we'll have one of those examples coming up next. Who of you? Huh? Okay, great. Yeah, so sorry, we are going to have the next speaker now. I hope this was a little bit helpful, and we're going to have more questions later. Great.
Okay, thanks.